The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Welcome, everyone, to the May meeting of the Warren County Board of Supervisors. Please rise while Supervisor McDevitt leads us in the pledge to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will read the roll.
Supervisor Leggett?
Here.
Supervisor Diamond?
Here.
Supervisor McDevitt?
Here.
Supervisor Bramer?
Here.
Supervisor Lowe? Supervisor Driscoll?
Here.
Supervisor Frazier?
Here.
Supervisor Simpson?
Here.
Supervisor Hogan?
Here.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Here.
Supervisor Merlino?
Here.
Supervisor Stroud?
Here.
Supervisor Wiles?
Here.
Supervisor Beatty?
Here.
Supervisor McGowan?
Here.
Supervisor Sokol?
Here.
Supervisor Thomas?
Here.
Supervisor Hyde? Supervisor Garrity?
Here.
Chairman Conover?
Here. You should all have received the minutes of our April 19 board meeting. Chair will entertain a motion regarding the minutes. Moved by Supervisor Stroud, second by Supervisor Simpson. Discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the minutes of April 19, 2019 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now I will turn the meeting over to Kevin Hajos.
This month, my director of Parks and Rec, Tim Benway, had submitted an employee of the month to me, and that would have been for Jeff Dinkley. Jeff's been with the county now at Parks and Rec for just about 11 years, and he's been key and instrumental in keeping our hatchery going. In fact, there's only 2 hatcheries within the state that are county-run facilities, ours and Essex County. I won't say anything bad about Essex County, but ours is well up here, a little above what they do. And it's because of somebody like Jeff who's dedicated his time to us. Jeff's done many accomplishments here. Besides that, the Stockman program he's been key on, and the other big thing that Jeff has done is the spring zing that we just had this past weekend. We've been out in attendance every year. This past weekend we had 350 people come out for the spring zing, and Jeff's been instrumental in it. Again, I could go on for many things talking about Jeff, but one key, and I think item that I wanted to bring to the board today is there was a letter written to us by Trout Unlimited, and I think most of you have seen it on the board, but I give you the opportunity just to go through it again today. It's from John Mackel, who's on the board of directors for Trout Unlimited, and he does the program, which is Trout here's the letter. This letter is written in appreciation of the extraordinary assistance of those at Warren County Fish Hatchery. Particularly manager Jeff Ingley provided our chapter of Trout Unlimited in carrying out our support of numerous area trout in the classroom programs this past fall. This program is implemented by teachers in local schools, including schools in Warrensburg, Queensbury, Lake George, and Glens Falls. It entails raising trout eggs in the classroom for eventual placement in streams throughout the county. The program is widely praised for the environmental education benefits it provides, as well as for its instilling a sense of environmental stewardship in our youth, which we are sure you all can have the same goals. This past fall, Jeff Ingley committed to providing fertilized brook trout eggs to the teachers in the program who preferred to raise our native species of trout. A number of them signed up, however, due to a catastrophic event at the New York State hatchery that supplied the eggs, none were made available to us, thus endangering the ability for the trout classroom program to be carried through. Jeff was determined to find another source to timely fulfill our need for eggs for this academic year. When all efforts appeared to be in vain, Jeff was successful in stripping eggs out of our own fish at the hatchery. Please be aware too that our organization continues to support and promote the hatchery Spring Zing Day. We believe such events also significantly promote and encourage environmental awareness, particularly with respect to the need to preserve and protect the cold water streams that are vital to ensuring future generations can experience the pleasure provided by access to the water resources here in Warren County. For Jeff and his staff, they have gone beyond the call of duty, and we greatly extend our thanks and also wish to thank the Board of Supervisors for their continued support. Jeff. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, this is quite an honor. This is actually something I was not looking for any competition for. It's an important program to me. A lot of it wouldn't be possible without the help of our staff and our staff. They're just a fantastic crew, and they deserve a lot of credit. Thank you all very much.
You forgot that, but I'll bring it up. And now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Supervisor McDevitt. Peter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the honors that we periodically get being a member of the Board of Supervisors is the honor of addressing the graduates and the special graduates of Warren County. This morning, I'd like to welcome Shelby Gardner, who is going to receive that award this morning. She's here this morning with her beautiful daughter, Ada, who is doing her best to represent the county also. So, on behalf of the Warren County Board of Supervisors, I am pleased to honor Shelby Gardner, a nursing graduate here today who demonstrates the persistence and the tenacity it takes to be a success. As a resident of Glens Falls, Shelby started at SUNY Adirondack in 2010, but had to leave when her mother passed away. 4 years later, she began taking courses to pursue a career in healthcare. Thank you, Ada. When tragedy struck again through the passing of her father. This solidified her dream to be a caregiver in the role of a nurse. From high school dropout to college graduate through many obstacles, but with great support from family and the college, Shelby proudly graduates today, or that being last Saturday, and will be pursuing a career in medical surgery or in psychiatry while continuing at SUNY Plattsburgh for a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Congratulations, Shelby. We're proud of your accomplishment today and wish you well as you embark upon this noble career. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I would like to present you with a certificate that I lost for a moment. So, this certificate of excellence is presented to Shelby Gardner on behalf of the Warren County Board of Supervisors in recognition of the outstanding effort and the tenacity demonstrated in achieving an Associates of Applied Science in Nursing degree from SUNY Adirondack. Shelby, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Shelby, good luck. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Jim Lieberman.
All right, good morning. I'm here to end the public review and comment period for the draft 2018 Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Annual Report. The report was announced for public review on April 29th at the DPW meeting. It's been available at our website, the county's website, in hard copy form here at the Board of Supervisors office, at our office in DPW. We've not received any comments or any information on that. As I said last year, I think that it's important that we do. I don't know if there's another mechanism to get it out there, but it shows public input and progress. The county has been part of the MS4 program since 2003, and it's only counts county facilities and infrastructure within what's called the designated urbanized area of our county. Upon finalization, the report will be available at the county and the district websites, and hard copies available at the county here, at our office, and at the DPW. And if you would like any more information on the MS4 program, you can visit our website. We have quite a bit of detailed information there. All the past reports, the current reports, and any other documentation you may need on that. The report is about 55 pages long, and it's a summary of the activities that occurred for stormwater, erosion, sediment control, education, outreach, things of that nature that have occurred in those urbanized areas. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, why, Jim, you're up here, and I know how modest you are. We brought it up in the committee, but I would like everybody to know all around for what you do. But Jim was awarded out in Syracuse for an award for achievement for his, for what he does and his crew. And I'd like for you to ad-lib on it because you do a much better job than I do.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan. My staff nominated me for a Willard F. Croney Lifetime Achievement Award, so I don't know where I go from here because I just turned 47. But it's quite an honor because of the people who presented it in the past are folks that I saw when I came on to Soil and Water, and I respected quite a bit. But it's really an award that recognizes my staff because they work very hard on a variety of projects. Our annual reports are going to be coming to the next Board of Supervisors meeting, and I mean, we're busy. That's all I can say. And to my board, Mr. Leggett and Mr. Thomas here are on my board. And so it's nice recognition for the district. We just try to work hard and, keep our noses down and just get the work done. So, but thank you, because I think that reflects well on our office and the county too. So a lot of people look to the county and for our Soil and Water District for assistance and guidance in the state. So.
Well, I would like you to thank you on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, and thank you for all your hard work in achieving what you do all over Warren County. So congratulations.
I answer your calls all the time. So you need to,
We need to
close and then adopt the
Okay.
final report, and then we will submit it to the DEC.
All right. The chair will entertain a motion to close the public comment period. Supervisor Dickinson, second, Supervisor Merlino. Any further discussion regarding the public comment period? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the report. Supervisor Dickinson, Supervisor Merlino, once again on the second. Any discussion? All those ready for the question? All those in favor of adoption signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, report of the chairman. On April 23rd, I toured the jail, Warren County Jail, with a number of supervisors. It's amazing to me on the tour, the way it's maintained. It looks to me like it could have been built yesterday. That's how well I think it's been maintained. Everything just is so spick and span and looks so fresh and new. And it's a real credit, I think, to the maintenance crew and the building and grounds crews for the maintenance that they provide in that facility. And I would like to thank Sheriff York for arranging this, and Craig, for you too, as chairman of the committee, for arranging the tour. Later that afternoon, or I should say after the tour, we had a meeting of the Criminal Justice, Public Safety, and OCTAX committees. On April 25, we had an EMS meeting. That afternoon, I attended, along with a number of supervisors, a presentation on the electronic computerized poll book demonstration at the Board of Elections conference room, or I should say the conference room on their floor. Very interesting presentation going forward, and basically it's a demonstration on moving from really a manual system to a more automated system, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that as we go forward. On April 29th, I attended the Economic Growth and Development meeting. On May 2nd, I attended the Personnel, Finance, and Laws and Rules. On May 13th, I attended the Lake George Partnership meeting in Queensbury. Thank you, John. On the 16th, we traveled, yesterday, we traveled to Essex County for inter-county and toured their nutrition meal site preparation program, where they produce over 600 meals daily to congregate sites and for home delivery. It's a very impressive operation. During the meeting, there was a presentation by NASDAQ staff on current legislation and issues regarding state and county governments. And that brings us to today. Reports by committee chairman. Supervisor McDivitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, probably the highlight of the month was the graduation Saturday at the college. The college really produces a wonderful product. As I'm sure I've bored some of you in the past with the mention of the fact that I was in the first class at the college, played a little bit of basketball, and probably, I don't know if you've seen the movie White Men Can't Jump, but that would be, they made this movie after me, okay? So I could get about a half an inch off the ground. So but again, a great event, about 650 graduates, and the Civic Center is a great venue for this kind of presentation, as opposed to a gymnasium. To have a round kind of effect, I think adds a sense of excitement, warmth to the whole process. So it was a good day, a happy day, and I was proud to have been involved in it. So,
well, Peter, we certainly thank you for agreeing to represent the county at the graduation, and I would agree with you. I think that makes for an excellent venue for a major event like that. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you very much. Environmental concerns and real property met on April 22nd, and there are 4 resolutions in your packet. 196 is a letter of support for the expanded bottle bill that was brought to us by Supervisor Garrity. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I ask for your support on that one. 197 is for the unified solar permit that would go through our county building department. That will help to streamline the process, and it's also one of the steps in the Clean Energy Communities certification program. So we're looking forward to having that available. 198 is sending in a letter requesting that we be able to participate in the state septic system replacement program. It's about $100,000 we're hoping to receive somewhere in there. We don't know the number yet, but it will be some amount of money that we can get towards private owners to replace their septic systems. And we're doing that in conjunction with looking at other efforts to find water bodies and areas where we can really make an impact to improve the water quality. So I ask for your support on that as well. 199 is just our normal canceling or correcting of assessments or refunds of taxes. And also Resolution 218, I would ask for your support. That's for the Energize New York Finance Program, which we did discuss on April 22nd in our environmental concerns meeting. And that is a financing program for commercial properties to improve their infrastructure to make them more energy efficient and environmentally friendly. So that is great. And that came up through Supervisor Strauss Committee, Legislative and Rules. And we will be meeting next on May 30th to discuss the Climate Smart Communities Program. So if you're interested in that, please try to attend on that day. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll.
No report.
No report. Supervisor Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health, Human, and Social Services met on April the 22nd. I had reports from all of my various committees, and if you take a look at the resolutions, we have numerous from 200 to 214. I'm not going to spend time to read those off. Many of them just deal with authorizing agreements or authorizing memorandums of understanding. But I would like you to take a look at Resolution 214, which is authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with Washington County to provide mentoring to veterans under the Joseph P. Dwyer Veteran Peer Services Program. And I know Denise and her counterpart in Washington County have worked hard on this to have this come about. So we certainly would appreciate your support on all these resolutions. I attended the Quality Senior Care Coalition that Janelle Jones had worked very hard to pull together. It was held over at Centers the other day. There was a wonderful turnout. The 4 nursing homes were represented, as well as many other health organizations in the community. They're looking at meeting like on a quarterly basis. So I think that's something we should look forward to seeing good things happen from Supervisor Driscoll and Supervisor Hogan were also in attendance, but I think they're off to a good start with that. And I also attended Intercounty yesterday up in Essex County. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DPW met April 29th, and from that meeting, we have resolution number from 224 to 231. These are mostly consultant services with various projects throughout the county bridge projects. We also, in that meeting, discussed the returns on the RFPs for the railroad, which the county administrator is close to having his matrix completed. It may be completed today. Is that what?
I hope to have it to the board next week.
Okay, next week. I'm sorry. So we will begin that process and have a presentation for the committee, and we can move along with that. We had a very successful day down in Albany for Adirondack Lobby Day. We surprisingly had a really good attendance at some legislative visits, that we had meetings that we had tried to assemble through key representatives in Albany on our Adirondack issues. And if you've been following the news, you'll see there's a lot of things coming at us. Banning of ATVs. We've got to get through the problem with cellular and broadband, and a whole host of issues. So there's about 20 days left or so in session, and I will hopefully have some good news to report. Middleton Bridge is moving forward. We, in our communications from the county, there was a letter there that Assemblyman Dan Steck had drafted, and the chairman of the Environmental Conservation Committee, Assemblyman Engelbright from Long Island, signed on a letter to the DOT explaining the situation and how important it is for this bridge project, the background on the Middleton Bridge, which is a Warren County bridge, and to hold that funding, and that the legislation will happen this session to provide for us to move forward with that project. So and also there is something else, but I think probably it'll get reported on during tourism. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As always, a very productive month at Cornell Cooperative Extension. Their game of logging, which is basically training for chainsaws, all the loggers have to go through it, had over 40 participants. Everybody reported that they had a wonderful time and no limbs were cut off. The CCE board awarded the bid for the electrical supplies to complete the building, correct? To GMES of Glens Falls, and a Warren County electrician is going to assist them by making the installation. The Master Gardener's plant sale is June 1st and 2nd at the CCE in Warrensburg. I've taken a peek in the greenhouses. They have a great selection. So if you haven't already bought your plants, think about buying them there. CCE is updating their strategic plan for 2019 to 2021, and that's going to be a major initiative for this year. That's it.
Thank you. Supervisor Dickinson.
Contrary to the logging event, I had my arm cut off a few weeks ago and had a total shoulder joint replacement. That's why I have this handy dandy, feel sorry for me sling. It was first operation of my life, and it was very successful and very quick. And I'd recommend it to anybody that has shoulder issues because mine was really bad. The RTAX committee did meet. We met on April 23rd. You have 3 resolutions in your packet. 219, which is a continuation of an agreement with the Village of Lake George. 220 is 3 projects that we've funded that came in after the original ones. And 221 is funding for the Village of Lake George wastewater treatment plant, which is a issue that we've been addressing. I would like to thank Supervisor Ben Driscoll. Came to the town of Lake George the other night and made a nice presentation about the SNAP program, and we were very pleased, very informative, and we thank you for doing that, Ben. We appreciate that. And then I'd just like to mention, you all know we're doing a sewer initiative in Lake George, and the initiative is to get people to replace their sewage systems on their property. And when I started 6 years ago, there was no funding available for people to fix their sewage systems on their private property. 0. State absolutely refused to even consider it. Now we have a resolution here for $100,000 to do just exactly that from the state of New York. So it's interesting how these things move along, and I'm very pleased to see it. It's a great initiative, and I hope it's successful. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Merlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to talk first on Charliewood Park, the grand opening. There's a resolution in there, 223. Grand opening is on May 29th. I think all the supervisors got an invitation. Its cost is $6,600. It's divided up between Lake George, the county, and the 3 E's and environmental. So there's a resolution there that the $1,320 come out of the monies from the park, from this committee. Second resolution is 222. That was just changing some of the amounts that we're charging people to rent the facility. And we threw in an extra charge on people that just want to use it for half a day, 8 o'clock till 12 noon. Anything after that is considered a full day because it comes in afternoon and night. Have no report on tourism, except we have our meeting coming up on June 4th, and I'd like to just yield a few minutes to Joanne to explain. We had some Chinese representatives here 2 weeks ago, and she'll give you information about the tour.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to share with you that we had a tourism and cultural exchange here 2 weeks ago. There were delegates from the city of Huangshan in China. If you're not familiar with China, it's several hours from Shanghai, and it is the 4th largest tourism destination in China. The guests that were here were guests of Assemblyman Mark Smullen, who is the assemblyman on the western side of the Adirondack Park, and former Assemblyman Mark Butler, the same district. So this ties together nicely with work that we're doing in the Adirondack region and with New York State to bring Chinese visitors to the U.S., to the state, and up here into the Adirondacks. So at the dinner last 2 weeks ago, Friday evening, there was a signing of an agreement between the Adirondack region and the Huangshan region. And it's like a sister agreement between the two areas because there are some similarities in their geography. They are a tourism destination, cultural similarities, and Supervisor Simpson was part of the signing group that was there. There were other representatives. Matt was there representing AATV, but Ross Levi, who's the executive director at I Love New York, was also there. Mark Lee Wilson, who's our I Love New York international executive director. Other Adirondack folks, Willie Janeway from the Adirondack Council, Mike Farmer from Old Forge, Bill Farber from Hamilton County. So there were a lot of representative people from the entire Adirondack Park that were there to take part in this exchange. So then on Friday, so here we are in Albany, and it was kind of a rainy night, and we were at the Fort Orange Club, and we had a lovely dinner. But they wanted to see some of the Adirondacks. So they were supposed to have a couple of days. They only had a half day, and we were lucky that we were just an hour up the road. So they came up and met, and Tanya Brand and I hopped on the van and drove up to Bolton Landing, and we were welcomed by Tom Gay at the Sagamore. It happened to be pouring that day. Deputy Supervisor from Bolton Landing came over to join us, Sue Wilson, and we welcomed the group. And we were able to go up to the second floor and look out, and they really wanted to see the mountains and the lake because that's what they identify with. So we had a lovely time there, and the Sagamore was very gracious in hosting us. And they asked a lot of questions on the way back, so Tanya and I were, the step-on tour guides, and it was a nice exchange. Some of them did not speak English, they had a translator, but it all worked out really well. So this is part of not only New York State and the Adirondacks, but us here in Warren County have a China Ready program that Tanya, through her international program, is working on so that our businesses can be China Ready and welcome these folks. So there are about 1 million Chinese Americans in New York City in that general area. So the Chinese residents will travel to see their families, and then they will travel around New York State. So this is a good connection for all of us, and we hope to move this forward with our partners in the Adirondacks and our partners with I Love New York. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Wilson's still raving over the experience. She thought it was just wonderful.
She was terribly gracious and brought gifts, and they're all about exchanging gifts, and they did appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
I just want to add also on Friday, there was the delegation up here also met. We got on a train, headed down, and we met with the bigger group of the Chinese delegation that were down there, and there were several hundred there. It was at the UN, and it was amazing how what I learned, and the big takeaway was I couldn't believe how Warren County's tourism department was integrated so far throughout the Adirondacks, and also this connection down New York City. When I wish Joanne had been able to be at New York City for that, but it just shows the testament of our tourism department. I'm talking to people from all over New York State that our department's been working with, and I really didn't know how far-reaching and how connected and how integrated they are. And so it's going to culminate hopefully in further meetings. I did get an email the other day. It's economically driven, it's tourism driven, and it's also environmentally driven, which was my role in the Adirondack Councils. They deal with the same challenges environmentally with, they have a region that's smaller than ours with just as many peaks, but they have 1.8 million people there. And then they have the tourism part of it. So they're struggling just as some of us are in the Adirondacks with dealing with the impacts of people. So just want to, Joanne and her department has just done amazing work. So
Thank you. Gene? Is that it? Your report?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't able to make that meeting, that's why I couldn't go, but I'm glad they went and it was successful.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Out of the Legislative Rules Committee this month, we have 4 resolutions before you today for your consideration. Resolution 215, urging New York State to fund costs associated with the voting reforms. And for your consideration, Resolution 216, it opposes the New York State Assembly bill aimed at prohibiting firearms as prizes. And Resolution 217 opposes the New York State Senate bill, which is expanding the scope and definition of public work, which would include most construction projects financed with public funding, or those including that they receive tax benefits from IDAs. And if this is the new broader category, would require prevailing wages and benefits and be a greater expense to the government. And Resolution 218, and that's a county law to establish sustainable energy loan program. It's part of NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program. It's one of the high impact action items. We have to do 4. And there is a EIC, that's Energy Impact Corporation, that will basically take care of the source of that funding and the administration of that funding. Our job is just to say that we are going to participate in the Energy Improvement Corporation's loan program. And those loans go to energy improvements to core businesses and nonprofits. And that's it for me. Oh, one other thing, just an FYI, a couple references on resolutions 243 and 228 to Halfway Creek. The official name is Halfway Brook, just FYI. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Stroud. Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Nothing of significance to report or controversial this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shared Services met on April 28th as a resolution 232, authorizing agreement between the county and various municipalities for sharing of services as a cost-saving measure. It's just total common sense, and the more we can share, the better savings for the taxpayers. So we don't always have to buy, every town has to buy something new every time, if we can be more team members in sharing. Facilities met on April 29th. In your docket, in your packet, there's resolutions 182, 83, 84, and 85. 82 is very self-explanatory. We're going to get 2 new snow plows for the county, and we'll take the old snow plows and put them up for auction, okay, which is a smart way of doing it, instead of taking and using it against the cost of the new machines. County Facilities 183, a grant to purchase one of the new snow sweeper trucks for the airport. 184 is authorizing the selection of 4 new consultants. There will be an amendment to that, and County Administrator Mr. Moore will be proposing an amendment to 184. So stay tuned for that. That will be today. And 185, Mr. Skimmelhorn, our FBO, has asked that he be allowed to put 2 nicer signs up, which I think makes sense, and we're trying to promote the airport more and more. So those are the only resolutions from the Facilities Committee. I just want to make a couple of comments. Last month, I mentioned how I felt the number one issue in our state is how can we get people to stay in our state and not have them move out. And I just thought I'd add just a couple of facts that is disturbing, but we can all do something about it. The student enrollment is declining at our public institutions, as we all know, mostly community colleges. And the public schools, we're at 2.6 million students in New York State. That's the lowest in 30 years. The lowest in 30 years. That's very disturbing. 46 of 62 counties in the state have lost population in the last 8 years. Significant. Upstate New York has our deaths are outpacing our births. And you mentioned that, Mr. Chairman, one time, saying that could be one of the reasons. Florida is going to be a huge recipient of all our neighbors. They had 65,000 move there last year alone from New York State. And we're going to lose 2 congressional seats, most likely, in the next census. So we're going to go from 27 to 25. And I think that's significant because that's less voice in Congress. So we're losing population. We're going to lose congressional seats. And I believe in my heart that's the number one issue facing our state, bar none. How do we keep more people here in the state from moving out? And finally, as we all know, there's a revenue shortfall in the budget due to the fact that they didn't anticipate as many people moving out, middle class and upper middle class, and even lower middle class moving out of the state. Because when you do that, you're taking their revenue. And so now we had a huge decrease in revenue in the budget due to the fact that, again, people are moving out. So I'd like to, going forward, I'd like to really get a handle on this as a county. What can we do in our little world up here in upstate New York to continue to encourage people to stay and people to love the area that we all call home? So I've got some ideas, and I know there's a smart group of people in this room, but I don't think it's as complex as we think. I think it's fairly simplistic in some of the solutions. So I'd just like to make those comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No more report, but I would just like to mention that I want to thank all the chair people, the committees that we have. We have really full of events every month of committee meetings, and I just want to comment on how nice that all of us that attend, that we're able to work together as a team and come up with all these resolutions that are fair for all of us. So I just wanted to reach out and thank everybody for what we do here.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Supervisor Sokol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance met on May 2nd. Before you are resolutions 180, 181, 240, and through 245. We had a relatively light agenda this month, but I would like to address a few of these resolutions. 240 is adopting a Warren County bad debt policy. We currently do not have a formal policy. What we do in finance is we, in executive session, review these. Some of them are only a few $100s. So we're looking to, through the visions of our county administrator, Ryan, he's developed a formal policy to streamline some of these issues. And in doing so, we would also receive quarterly reports. And those would be reviewed at the Finance Committee as well. And I don't know if Ryan has anything else to comment, but maybe he would mention that in his report as well. Resolution 241 was a late correction with the amount of the county clerk having $700 instead of $600 for her petty cash fund. And resolution 245, we had an amendment as grant funding had been approved by DSRIP, which is the Delivery System Reform Incentive payment program, which ultimately would reduce hospital uses by 25%. So that was a total cost of $15,000, which were for 10 laptops. So that's all I have for my report, Mr. Chairman, but our county treasurer would like to come to the podium if that's okay.
Absolutely, without objection. Mike? Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple quick things. One, if you've noticed the reports, the sales tax is still down a little bit, but I'm not really concerned about that because of the way in which our budget officer, Supervisor Thomas, structured things. We're actually still a little bit ahead of where we need to be. So we're doing okay. We're holding our own. We're just not going to we're not making anything at this point. So, which is good. And also the occupancy tax is up, which tells me that things are still moving out there. So I think we're going to be okay with that. And then another point on sales tax, I finally have received some data from the Office of Taxation and Finance concerning how much sales tax is collected from things like tourist accommodations, restaurants, gasoline sales, etc. I'm trying to break that down now, and hopefully within the next week to 10 days, I'm going to put together kind of a report and supply it to all you supervisors about, because I keep getting these questions about, well, how much sales tax comes from here and there. It is from 2016, but at least it's better than nothing. And lastly, I've been working with Glens Falls National Bank and Trust Company for about 2 months now, trying to work out an investment plan for our deposits that are on hand with them. And I'd like to say that we have finally worked out something that is going to be very, very advantageous for the county. I think it's going to be a program where we're going to be able to collect quite a bit of interest income on the money that we have in the bank. Questions, anybody?
Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. Thanks for your report on the sales tax and the OC tax status. I'm wondering, how much money do we have in occupancy tax this year to distribute? How much do we still have left?
Well, we have enough to cover what is required for us to distribute. And then there is a surplus. I don't know what it is right now. Top of my head, I think it's about 1.8 million, 1.7 million.
In this year's occupancy tax?
No, you mean in this year's?
Yeah, because we have a resolution on today that asks for an additional $30,000, and I know that there's still at least one more outstanding request for county occupancy tax money for this year.
Yeah, we have enough to cover that. I mean, we have $1 million of for cash flow in there to carry from one year to the next. So even if we haven't collected all of that we need for this year, we have enough cash flow in there to cover that.
Right.
But isn't there like 80, even after we do those, isn't there like 85,000 left in that fund?
Yeah.
In the budget, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
But if the question was, what does the fund balance look like in OCTAX? Ryan, maybe you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, the fund balance is fine, as the treasurer stated. In terms of this year's budget appropriations, we do have some savings. It's more than enough to cover what's in the resolutions today, plus additional requests that are out there. I know there's one outstanding from Johnsburg, and I'm not worried at all about that.
Yeah, we have enough to cover that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. The Budget Committee will be meeting on May 30th. Representatives from the Adirondack North Country Association and Lakes to Locks will be there. As you know, we contribute money to their organizations for their yearly expenses. So if you have questions, then we can talk about our fund balance and whatever other issues anybody wants to talk about with the budget. I also, this past week, I attended a forest management training session at the Department of Environmental Conservation in Warrensburg. This was put on with a grant from the Basin Program, Lake Champlain Basin Program. It was very informative. Representatives of DEC explained their role and how they approach it. There was people there from zoning from Lake George and Queensbury and how they approach it. And there was also a forester there to put on a PowerPoint presentation, and it was very, very informative. I didn't stick around for the tour afterwards, but I'm sure that was great too.
Thank you. Supervisor Hyde.
No report.
Supervisor Garrity.
Yeah, personnel met on 5/2. We started at 10 a.m. prompt. There are 6 resolutions that came from our committee meeting, 2 amending table organizations. One was for the DA salary, the other one was normal. We have 2 requests for different courses for folks who work for the county. And then we are changing, authorizing an agreement with Standard Medical Services to provide medical examinations for police patrol officers candidates. Also, I attended the Spring Zing at the Fish Hatchery. It was well attended, and the sun did shine a little bit that weekend, so that was good. I also went up to Safety Days on Wednesday at the fairgrounds and looked around there. They had some really nice stuff. They had some equipment. They had some like a safety rodeo for some equipment operators to participate in. And then as part of the, Doug was saying about shared services, we were looking for a new tractor to mow in Warrensburg, and we went on to one of the national purchasing contracts that Julie puts out to us, and we found the tractor that we wanted. It wasn't on state contract, but it was on one of the national contracts. So all it took us to pass a resolution to become part of that national contract. So the purchasing shared services works very well for us, and I say every time take advantage to all that she offers for us, because you can find savings everywhere on that. And I did go to Essex County yesterday, and on the intercounty, if you want to see a Meals on Wheels program that works with a single site, that's the place to go. They do 639 meals a day or something like that. And Essex County is a big county, but they work it all out of the Westport facility. They cook all the meals. They distribute all the meals out of the Westport facility. One facility, and they do have some areas where they have conjugal visits, where they go out to meal sites. But it's all prepared in one site. They got modern packaging equipment there. It's really really amazing what they do out of one site. And it's all contracted. It's all contracted by one supplier. So it was interesting. I thought it was very good.
Very interesting. I agree.
That's my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Criminal Justice Public Safety met after Supervisor Garrity's committee that had lasted 4 minutes. We went on for an hour and some odd. There's 8 resolutions before you, numbers 186 through 193. 3 are from assigned counsel for continuing agreements with Legal Aid Society. 2 are from Office of Emergency Services, appointing members to the Fire and EMS Advisory Boards. 1 is from Probation for rewording an existing agreement with Northeast Polygraph. 1 is from the Public Defender authorizing a grant application to the Office of Indigent Legal Services. And the last one is authorizing an agreement with Justice Benefits for revenue recovery regarding undocumented criminal aliens. That's for the Sheriff Department, and that's at no cost to the county. I also attended a hazard mitigation planning workshop. Supervisor Thomas was there as well. Went to the Forestry Day, so Water Conservation District Forestry Day at DHC, and went to the Safety Days self-insurance put on up at the fairgrounds. All very good events. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No reports today.
No report. Report of the county administrator.
Thank you. I try to keep these reports to reporting facts and not opinions, but I want to diverge from that a little bit. It's because of a point that Supervisor Beatty brought up, which I think deserves a follow-up on population. Not only is this state losing population and losing representation, but that population is getting sucked out of upstate and moved downstate. And those representatives, the fewer representatives we have, are more concentrated downstate, with the exception of Saratoga County. Saratoga County is where you hear that people are actually moving to in upstate. In my mind, there's no reason why Warren County can't also be a bright spot upstate, just like Saratoga County. And that can happen right in this room. It's long-range planning. It's not just doing the status quo. It's thinking about what the other needs are out there in the community that are being planned that this county can play a positive role in developing and really moving this county forward into the new century. There was a great editorial in the Post-Star over the past week that touched on some of these themes. And as Doug mentioned, there are many supervisors on this board who are thinking long-term, thinking strategically, who have been talking to me. And I think that we have a lot of great minds and we'll develop something very positive going forward. One employee milestone this month. I'm especially pleased to draw attention to it because I think a lot of him and I enjoy working with him. It's Under Sheriff Sean Lamoury. He started with the county 30 years ago in 1989. Congratulations to Sean. Thanks for all that you do to keep the Sheriff's Department moving in the right direction and for the many, many hours that you put in. We're fortunate to have you. Since last board meeting, as the chairman mentioned already, on Thursday, the 25th of April, I joined several supervisors as well as election staff from around the region to attend that electronic poll book demo that was held here. Thank you to Bill and Beth, our commissioners, for hosting that. We will continue looking to New York State for updates on security standards that these types of services will have to have, as well as state funding that will be made available for this equipment. Early voting does start this year in October. It presents some challenges to us. No matter how we address it, we'll have to do things a bit differently, whether it's manual or whether through electronic poll books. Our mandate here is to prevent fraud and to preserve the integrity of elections. So however we go about doing that, that's what we'll accomplish. On Friday, the 26th, I was invited to attend an event hosted by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She honored Sheriff York at that event for his many decades of law enforcement service, so I'd like to congratulate the sheriff. On Tuesday, April 30th, I met with the Saratoga Warren Washington Workforce Development Board to discuss how we can improve our partnership and nurture a workforce that's suited to our regional needs and will help our economy grow. Again, part of having a long-term vision here. I've asked this group to meet with me quarterly, and I'll be inviting other stakeholders to the table, including the EDC, SUNY Adirondack, and whatever other players are out there that are working on initiatives. The future operator of the railroad may be one. And I'm hopeful that by keeping each other informed about what we're working on and our various priorities, that we can help each other and work in concert to get them done. On Monday, May 6th, I got together with the county administrators of Saratoga and Washington County to discuss challenges that we have in common and how our counties are addressing them. I think all three of us got something out of it, especially me and Chris. We got a free lunch. And we're looking forward to doing this on a regular basis. Later on that day, I met with the state comptroller's office to discuss a variety of mutual concerns. The treasurer and the chairman joined me for that meeting. During the meeting, the comptroller's office requested that I all make you aware of a couple of things that their office is working hard to promote. The first thing is unclaimed funds. There's about $15 billion with a B that's owed to New York State residents right now, and the comptroller holds that. And what people need to do to claim those funds is go online, the website, and I'll send this all, to you a little later today, osc.state.ny.us/OUF, F as in Frank. If you go online on that website, you can run your name, see if you're owed anything, and you can actually claim those funds online. And I can tell you it works. I found out that my wife is owed some money for an overpayment she made at an urgent care, and the check is in the mail. So please go on there, check it out, let your constituents know that they should also do it. And the tourism department, I think Joanne left. I wanted to thank Joanne. She has been working with me to identify some major community events. Balloon Festival will be an example where the comptroller can set up a booth to advertise this, and they'll have laptops on site to actually help people search for whether they're owed funds at these events. The second initiative that the comptroller's office asked for a little help on, it's called the New York ABLE program, ABLE. The site is mynYable.org. Now, under this program, individuals that have disabilities can pay for health-related expenses. And what they do is they can invest post-tax dollars into a fund that the comptroller administers. It's kind of like deferred comp, where you choose what your profile of investment based on the amount of risk you want to take. Earnings from this investment are tax exempt, as long as the earnings when they're withdrawn are used for qualified medical expenses. I have a brochure. I'll scan it. I'll send it to all of you later. Our human services departments are going to be distributing the brochure to their clients that may qualify. Very underutilized program, and it would be great to see more people in Warren County getting that benefit. To wrap up on my activities, I met with Supervisors Bramer and McDevitt and relevant county staff on May 7th to discuss the Climate Smart Communities Initiative, which, as Supervisor Bramer mentioned, will be discussed further at the Environmental Concerns Committee. And I spent most of the afternoon this past Monday in Albany meeting with personnel from their sheriff's department regarding the Albany County EMS program. The undersheriff and the county attorney also attended that with me. We learned a lot, and hopefully we can use some of the lessons that they've learned to benefit Warren County as we look to set up more of a county-wide view on EMS. Moving forward on today's resolutions, there are 3 that have been revised. I just want to draw your attention to those. First, Resolution 223 from Parks O&M. It was revised just to make it clear that the Charles R. Wood grand opening is to be paid 20% each by the parks owners, which are the county and the village, and also the 3 environmental organizations. The second is Resolution 241 from Finance. At the request of the state, County Clerk Pam Vogel asked for the DMV petty cash limit to be increased by $300 from a current limit of $200 to a new limit of $500. That did raise some confusion because the resolution increases the limit to $1,000. The reason why that is because the prior resolution was written for the entire petty cash fund, which is both county clerk expenses and DMV expenses. So the current aggregate limit is $700. We're doing exactly what the committee approved in adding $300 on the DMV side. It just makes it from $700 to $1,000 rather than the $200 to $500 that the committee had discussed. So just a clarification on that. The third is Resolution 245 from Finance. That's been revised to drop the IT reserve fund transfer to from $51,100 to $36,100. The $15,000 in savings is as a result of the Health Services Department finding grant funding for 10 laptops that they need. Thank you to the Treasurer's Office for helping get that done. Every bit helps. $15,000 is nice to keep in that reserve. And as Supervisor Beatty alluded to, the final thing I wanted to address is Resolution 184. This resolution pre-qualifies firms to do engineering and planning work at the airport over the next 5 years. Superintendent Kevin Hajos and Airport Manager Don DeGraw came to me earlier this week asking for an amendment to this resolution to strike CNS engineers from the resolution. Looking ahead 5 years, CNS had 2 active projects under their banner. One of them was the runway extension. The other is the proposed snow removal equipment building. As you all know, the FAA nixed the runway extension last week in terms of being a funding partner. So all of CNS's related work on that had been approved previously by the FAA immediately ceased. So CNS is going to continue working with the county to close out that project, submitting the required documentation, including FAA reimbursements for all the work that's completed and authorized to date. So that leaves CNS doing the snow removal equipment building. Based on the old pre-qualified list, CNS was chosen for this project. They already prepared the grant application, and this board approved submission of that application to the FAA last month. So at the appropriate time, Kevin will be coming back to the Facilities Committee and to the full board for permission for CNS to finish up this project, which involves design and inspection work. I've spoken with the purchasing director just to make sure that CNS doesn't need to be on the new pre-qualified list in order to finish up this project, and they do not. They can continue under the authority of the old list. So therefore, we're requesting that Resolution 184 be amended to establish that the new pre-qualified list consists only of Jacobs, McFarland, Johnson, and ACOM USA.
Chair, I think we'll handle an amendment at this time. Supervisor Simpson, Supervisor Beatty on the second. Just for everyone looking at that resolution, the 1, 2, 3, the fourth resolution from the end will read, resolved that Jacobs Civil Consultants Incorporated, McFarland Johnson Incorporated, and ACOM be selected to serve, et cetera, et cetera. CNS Engineers name will be deleted. Does everyone understand the amendment? Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of this deletion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That resolution will be taken up under resolutions.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Report of the county attorney.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to take this opportunity to update the board on 2 lawsuits that were decided this past week in favor of the county. The first suit is Sassy versus Warren County. Plaintiff brought a suit in the Northern District of New York against both Warren County and Dutchess County, alleging violation of his 8th Amendment rights through deliberate indifference to his serious medical needs, violation of his First Amendment right to free exercise of religion, and his 4th Amendment right to be free from unreasonable searches. The county insurance carrier assigned Johnson & Laws to defend the county. During the motion for summary judgment phase of the litigation, plaintiff either withdrew claims or claims were dismissed. Except for plaintiff's claims regarding his First Amendment right to free exercise of religion and violation of his 8th Amendment right of deliberate indifference to a serious medical need. On Wednesday, May 1st, 5 days before trial was to begin, plaintiff advanced his first settlement offer to the county. After conferring with both the sheriff and outside counsel, the county administrator decided to proceed to trial and reject the settlement. Outside counsel participated in trial the week of May 6th through May 10th regarding these remaining claims. After 4 days of testimony, the jury returned a verdict of no cause of action in favor of Warren County. The second case I wanted to go over is Mahar versus Warren County Board of Supervisors. William Mahar filed a suit in the Northern District of New York alleging that the Warren County Board of Supervisors violated the Equal Protection Clause by requiring that if a town is only entitled to a single representative on the Board of Supervisors, the town supervisor must serve as that representative. He alleged that this violated equal protection because residents of the towns that are entitled to more than one representative on the board are entitled to vote for both a town supervisor and an additional board representative. The Northern District of New York ruled that the case was barred by res judicata and that the complaint failed to establish an equal protection claim. Plaintiff then appealed this decision to the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. On Wednesday, May 15th, 2019, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the judgment of the district court. In doing so, the court ruled that the election procedures for the Warren County Board of Supervisors neither calls for strict scrutiny, nor does it violate the Equal Protection Clause. In reaching this decision, the court found that the local law issue, which is 12 of 2011, does not deny plaintiff an equal voice in his county government, nor does it dilute his representation on the board relative to residents of larger towns. While the court found that the local law does create a distinction between the residents of different towns, the distinction does not affect Mahar's representation in county government. Nor does Mahar assert in this action that the apportionment scheme leaves him underrepresented on the board, or that the residents of more populated towns are overrepresented. Therefore, the court concluded that rational basis, not strict scrutiny, is the appropriate test. Under a rational basis review, the court will not overturn government action unless different treatments of different groups is so unrelated to the achievement of any legitimate purpose that the only conclusion is the government's actions were irrational. The court found that the local law issue here related to 3 government objectives: the apportionment of votes to ensure each citizen's vote is weighted equally, the preservation of the county boundaries, and the benefits of having an integrated town-county system of government. In Warren County, the court found that the local law preserves each town's political borders, provides for equal representation on the board by allocating extra representatives to the larger towns who are elected at large by those towns' residents, and facilitates coordination between the town and county government by having town supervisors also serve as county supervisors. The Second Circuit could not say that Warren County's scheme is so unrelated to those legitimate government purposes that it was irrational. Because rational basis review was appropriate and plaintiff's challenge to the local law fails under that standard, the Second Circuit found that the district court properly granted summary judgment to the county. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Very good. Reading of communications.
Reports from Capital District Off-Track Betting Corporation financial reports dated January 31st, 2019 and February 28th, 2019. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation audited financial statements for years ended December 31st, 2018 and 2017, and audited financial report update document for the County of Warren for fiscal year ended December 31st, 2018. Minutes from the Warren County Jury Board annual meeting, and Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation March 2019 payment in the amount of $3,658.
Reading of resolutions.
Proposed resolution numbers 180 through 245 were distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors and posted to the Warren County website on May 9th. Resolution numbers 223, 241, and 245 were amended after mailing. The revised resolutions were posted to the county website and emailed to the Board of Supervisors. Copies of the revised resolutions are in your folders. A motion is needed to approve the revisions to resolutions numbers 223, 241, and 245 as provided.
Simpson, Sokol on the second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 184 was amended from the floor, and there are no additional resolutions to be brought to the floor this month.
Very good. I'll now open up to the public. Any comments on proposed resolutions presently before the Board of Supervisors? There being none, I'll now open up discussion on resolutions to the board itself. Do we have discussion? First, before we do that, excuse me, any requested roll call votes? Mr. McDevitt.
217, please.
It's a roll call vote requested on 217. Any other roll call requests? There being none, that now I will open up discussion on resolutions. Do we have discussion on resolutions? Supervisor McDevitt.
Yeah, on Resolution 217, I am going to support the New York State Senate bill and the New York State Assembly bill. One of the greater issues facing our country today is that people are paid living wages. We look at people that fall into the realm of maybe near the bottom of the economic ladder, whether they be electricians, plumbers, people working hard in an effort to meet their responsibilities as parents and citizens. So this is a law that is embedded in the New York State Constitution. May it mean that I pay a little more in taxes? So be it. I would make the choice of paying a little more in taxes to ensure that that average person is insured a living wage.
Thank you. Any other discussion on, that was Resolution 217, correct?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer on 217?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to support this bill as well. I think that we should have fair wages for our workers, especially our union workers and people like Peter just said are working very hard in the trades, and they should be given a fair, equitable wage. The other thing that I want to point out is Supervisor Beatty discussed the New York budget deficit. It's not really related to 217, but while I have the floor, I'm just going to go for it. You know, part of the budget deficit is $2.3 billion loss to New York as a result of our federal administration's tax policy. That has certainly not helped New York out, and it's not helping out our normal taxpayers who can use a wage increase. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion on 217, Supervisor Beatty?
Thank you to my esteemed colleagues. Obviously, I disagree. We're the highest tax state in the country, fact, and adding additional costs to projects will end up in more taxation And I don't think that's a good combination. This is only going to increase the amount of people who want to leave the state. So I think fair wages, we're all for that. And I think if you look at the average wage in New York State, it's higher than almost any other state in the country. It's close, it's like in the top 3. So with all due respect, adding more cost to projects, which is then adding more taxation to the average person out there in New York State, will increase the amount of people who say, I just can't have this additional taxation. So the 1.3 million that have moved and voted with their feet in the last 10 years, it's not stopping. So I'm going to have to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on 217, Supervisor Stroud?
Yes, although I respect and agree with Supervisor McDivitt that we do have to promote a fair wage so that people can pay their bills and earn a decent living. However, on the other side, and we do have to pay prevailing rates and assure that benefits are paid to the workers for direct projects that deal with the governments. However, it's the collateral that I see as being potentially damaging. You have firehouses that are independent companies, and they may be prohibited from making safer firehouses because they can't afford the prevailing rates and the benefits therein. You have nonprofits who want to go ahead and do greater community things, who might not be able to afford to do it. I understand the intent, but it's the collateral damage, I think, of this law that concerns me. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Simpson?
Mr. Chairman, I worked for myself for 31 years and had an option of being in some kind of organized labor. Labor dictated what my paycheck would be, but I am opposed to this bill. I made a good wage over 31 years by working hard, selling myself, and it was on me to produce and to be compensated, to expect to be compensated fairly. This will just adds more burden to employees or employers, which translate into more burden on our employees, and it just contributes to the loss of business and economic vitality in New York State.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly thank supervisors for their comments about this. The reality is it's a quality versus quantity issue. An employer, if they increase their wages or have to increase their wages, are going to decrease their manpower. So instead of hiring 10 people, they're going to hire 8 or 9 people. So more people will have less opportunities to work with this. Certainly, I agree that we need to offer affordable wages to individuals, but we also have to stretch that out to the most number of people also. So thank you.
You're welcome. Supervisor McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I even though I do agree with Supervisor McDivitt and Supervisor Bramer, I also have to follow with my other constituents opposing this. After working for myself for 35 years, and actually, Matt Simpson back in the day when we were just kids. That's where I met Matt. It's a lot of hard work and still doing it, and I feel the pain every day, but I get up and do what I have to do. And I feel, fair wages for everyone, but I think by cramming it down the employer's throats and mandating another mandate from New York State, which just, is so far in debt and keeps demanding, I'm afraid we're going to push the people out and not give these organizations that need it. Like we have the firehouse there, which has had to make some, changes because, let's get down to it's money. So forcing it upon I don't think is fair. Like they should probably try to work out another solution, but keeping it fair to the employees as long as, and the employers. So I oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Anyone else?
just one quick comment.
Supervisor McDevitt.
Very respectfully to the architecture of the firehouses in Queensbury. I think the first time I drove by one of these museum-like structures in Queensbury, I thought it was a museum. These structures are, without a doubt, the most beautiful structures I've ever seen. And so I'm not the first one that is about to start crying for the poor firemen in Queensbury because they're not adequately supported.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to not comment on Supervisor McDevitt's comments, but I would like some clarity, if you don't mind, on the prevailing wage. My thought is, and my assumption is that it's a New York State prevailing wage. Is there any modification of that rate to reflect more local wages? Or is it just a New York State prevailing wage, which means that we would have to pay the same wage as someone in some borough of New York City? And that, to me, seems unreasonable for this county to try to absorb.
Mike?
Yes.
The quick answer is that municipalities are required to pay New York State prevailing wage or Davis-Bacon, which is a federal rate, whichever's greater. It's usually the New York State rate. But I'll turn to our county administrator to go a little further with that.
Yeah, there are regional differences. Supervisor Garrity jumped on that.
You can go online, Department of Labor. If you want to go online, look at the Department of Labor, and you can bring up a painter or whatever, and it's different for different regions.
Correct. So if I may then, just a follow-up, how much of an increase are we talking about in this prevailing wage versus what we would normally do with some other contract? Do we know?
I think it would depend on the project, whether or not the workers that you're dealing with are unionized.
So we're talking about 50%, double?
May I?
Could be.
17.
You should ask Gene.
The simple reading would be any manufacturer.
Yeah.
Just equipment. It just would go off like an octopus.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Lake.
On a recent bill the town of Chester received, the labor rate from that contractor was $120, but prevailing wage was $220 for that same job. So there is a difference.
It breaks down into, if you look at it in the DOL site, it breaks down to what's called, I think it's Title IX and Title VIII. Title VIII being service wages, landscape, that kind of thing. And then Title IX is on public works, MEOs, people, laborers on physical projects. It's, I believe that's how it's broken down, and then anybody that bids on a public project is required to pay prevailing wage. And then when they submit for the vouchers, municipalities are required to keep those payrolls and that literature on file, should there be any kind of audit, or if the Department of Labor were to come in, they have an opportunity to take a look at the file to ensure that every one on the project was paid correctly. Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on Supervisor McDevitt there. I wasn't singling out the Queensbury firehouses there as any, but this is an opportunity where, you know, maybe the firehouse could get a little bit more, you know, or lesser of a project with, you know, putting it out for, you know, a more fair bid. So, you know, I know you feel that Queensbury's got the Taj Mahal, and unfortunately, Glens Falls has some older buildings that, you know, I'm sure they would want more, and they actually house their people. But your fire structures, fire apparatus and functional people are structured a lot different than the town of Queensbury. But I you know, I just wanted to state that there, and I didn't want to single out that one, any of our firehouses.
Any further discussion on 217? There being none. Discussion on other resolutions. Last chance. Then I'll close discussion on the balance of the resolutions. Vote on resolutions.
Resolution number 180, making supplemental appropriations.
Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yes.
Supervisor Loeb? Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan? Yes. Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 181, amended Warren County budget for 2019 for various departments within Warren County. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yes.
Supervisor Loeb? Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan? Yes. Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 217. Opposing New York State Senate Bill S.1947 and New York State Assembly Bill A.1261 related to hours, wages, and supplements in contracts for public works. Supervisor McDevitt?
No.
Supervisor Bramer?
No.
Supervisor Driscoll?
No.
Supervisor Frazier?
No.
Supervisor Simpson?
No.
Supervisor Hogan?
No.
Oh.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Do we want to? I should have,
Yeah.
without objection, may I, a vote in favor opposes the bill, a vote to the negative opposes the opposition to the bill. Are we clear on that? Yes, can we read? Can we,
No.
Voted yes.
can we retreat to the roll call
I think we should.
without objection? Thank you.
Yeah, I thought I read no.
Supervisor McDevitt?
No.
Supervisor Bramer?
Still no.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan?
No.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Resolution number 234. Amending table of organization in Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2019. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 235, amending table of organization in Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2019 for the district attorney's office. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Just quickly talking about wages, not that I oppose our DA at all, and I certainly think he deserves a fair wage. $200,000 for our area is a lot of money, and we are putting in here that future mandatory salary increases are to be made administratively without the need for further board approval. So I just hope that if anyone ever wants to oppose this in the future, you're going to have to remember to do it because this won't come to the board anymore. Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes, but correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it the state that sets the DA and we have zero control over that? So $194,000 salary is set by the state down in Albany, and unfortunately.
It's going to 200,000. And
Well,
yes,
it's going
my
to 200,000. My point, though, let me finish, please. My point is that we don't have any control over setting the salary.
That's,
And my point was that if we ever wanted to lobby to the state to change that lack of control.
I'd be all for that.
please wait till we're recognized. Thank you, Mr. Beatty. I think you are correct. Continue.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
No.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
One statement I'd like to make before I vote, that the administrator did say that he would always bring this to the committee, even if its raise is caused by the state of New York and it's mandatory. He did say that he would always bring it to committee so we would know when the increase was going to happen. I understand what you're saying, but let's be clear. The administrator will bring the information to committee, so it's not going to go uncharted. So I will vote yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 243, establishing capital project H386, County Route 7 over Halfway Brook Creek Bridge replacement, authorizing transfer of funds and amending Warren County budget for 2019. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution number 244, increasing capital project H353, County Bridge Asbestos Abatement and Painting Project, authorizing transfer of funds and amending Warren County budget for 2019. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
And resolution number 245, authorizing the appropriation of funds from the Computer Reserve Fund to various departmental budgets, amending 2019 Warren County budget. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yes.
Supervisor Bramer?
Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Simpson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hogan? Yes. Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud?
Yes.
Supervisor Wild?
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sokol?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Yes.
Supervisor Hyde?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrity?
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett?
Yes.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes. The chair will entertain a motion on the balance. Supervisor Dickinson, Supervisor Stroud, the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now I'll offer the privilege of the floor to anyone in the audience wishing to address the board regarding any issue whatsoever that you feel the board needs to hear about. Yes, sir. If we just state your name and.
Hi, my name is Steve Barata. I'm from Glens Falls, and I'm just curious, listening to the vote on the resolutions, Resolution 217 came up regarding paying fair wages to hard laborers. And then you voted on the resolution regarding the salary of the county attorney. You voted down Resolution 217, saying it would add costs, it would drive jobs away, it would add costs to the county. Yet you voted to increase the salary of a high-paid already county attorney. It just seems to me that you're valuing that work over the other work in some uninformed way, I guess, is the best way to point it out. And it makes no sense to me why low-wage, hard laborers are less important than high-paid white-collar workers in our society and in this county.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, go ahead. Mhm. Travis, I'm sorry. Mr.
Travis White, go ahead.
Oh, just one moment. Supervisor McGowan.
Sorry, excuse me, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not the county attorney, it's the DA.
The DA.
All right, the DA, which is state, but which is, as it was stated earlier, which is mandated by New York State, has nothing to do with us, so.
But we were talking about.
Please talk through the chair.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I just wanted to correct what he said. It wasn't the town attorney, so, or the county attorney. So.
There's a lot to this, and what I would recommend is that if you would meet with the county administrator afterwards, and he might give you some information that might
Sure.
address.
Can I just address one other point that you brought up, though? But 217 would have also addressed a law, at the same type of mandated law to address the wages of workers, and that's the point I'm making.
Travis, it's all yours.
One point on that law to extend the prevailing wages beyond where they are today, I think there would be some unintended consequences. While we don't really know what the final form of that law might end up in Albany, I know as a member of the IDA, we've been told that it could very well force any people applying for assistance through the IDA to follow these rules as well. And as you know, these are private people coming to us for private projects, and it would probably be the last one we ever saw, I would guess, if they had to go ahead and pay prevailing wages as well. So I think there's some, unintended consequences. Certainly, I can agree with the fact that I think some blue collar workers ought to be paid more than lawyers because they do contribute more to the. I think I'll end it there. But but the main reason that I am standing here today is to say that with regards to the FAA decision not to fund the extension, I know that many of you are probably a little disappointed because you were hoping for some economic gains based on that. But I'd just like to assure you that you've already gotten the economic gains, and they have really nothing to do with the runway extension. When I first started opposing this 5 years ago, we had 2 jets based at that airport. Today we have 5. The runway's no longer than it was 5 years ago. But what did happen was a private individual recognized that there was a need that needed to be fulfilled if we were to attract jets, and that wasn't an extended runway, but the fact that someone flying in or wanting to continue to fly a $15 million jet would like to park it outside of the rain. So Mr. Skimmerhorn, with his own money, went ahead and invested millions of dollars in building 6 hangars. And we now have 5 base jets there. And as he's finishing his last 2, I think he's hoping to get a couple more. I'd also like to point out that all of that money that he put in, his own money, he's also being taxed on. And I just looked them up this morning, but those hangars are assessed at about $1.5 million, and he's paying full town taxes, full fire taxes, full EMS taxes, full school taxes, and full county taxes. On the other hand, the county of Warren is assessed for $13 million at that airport, and they pay zero on all of those taxes that I just mentioned. So, I believe there are benefits and that we are getting them. I'm glad to see that $10 million can now be spent at an airport that might be more in need of that funding. Maybe airports that you and I actually might fly out of. So all in all, I think this is a very good thing for the county and for the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Gina Mintzer with the Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce. And regarding the sales tax collections, just a reminder that we've lost some very big box retailers in our county, Sears, Kmart, and some others, and those dollars are not coming back. We can build a Dollar General or a Harbor Freight, but it's not the same. They're not generating the same sales, nor are they generating the same sales tax. So really, that is a piece that our business community and each and every one of us should be, really aware of. That, if we have an opportunity to help lease another space and that it generates sales tax to keep us at the levels that we are, because that will only continue to go down. We've only seen, coming out of the first that first quarter of the year, but we haven't seen what it has done to us at the last fourth quarter when they've generated more retail sales. So just to be aware of that and how we can all think about, you talked about all the great minds in the room, and there are, but certainly we all need to be concerned about that as we lose those retail dollars and that type of sales tax, because occupancy tax does not make up for that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? There being no one else, announcements, Supervisor Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, there's been a lot of talk about like our loss of population and the decline in our schools in the Adirondacks and actually population in the Adirondacks. It made me think that we really haven't heard much promotion about the 2020 census that's going to be happening. That's very critical, especially not only for all of our communities, but the Adirondack Park. In 1932, there was 32,000 residents. And we're guessing that there's less, but we really don't know. So everything over the last 10 years has been based on that old census. There's been a change. We don't know what it is, and it equates to dollars that go to these regions, and it equates to the cellular and the broadband, any federal support, state support. So I encourage everybody to get involved with this 2020 census and promote it and talk to your people and get them to get involved. It's very important. Also, Food Truck Fridays, June 29th in the town of Horican. We're going to have food trucks every Friday, 4 o'clock, and we're going to have music, entertainment. We're going to have showcase all of our Horican community businesses, and it'll be a great time. Please come and visit us.
You're welcome. Jane, did I see your hand? Jane?
Yeah, just a comment I'd like to make. Probably about 3.5 years ago, right in this room, 6 of us supervisors sat here with 6 representatives from state DOT about our poor roads. And I'm just happy to say by Wednesday, 11 miles of 9N in Lake Luzerne will be done. Only took us 4 years to get it, but we did it. So thank you for the supervisors that were here that day.
You're welcome. Supervisor Bramer.
Yes, thanks. On the census issue, when we were in DC, we heard about some push by the federal administration to only count people who were had a mailing address at a residence versus those who have a PO box. And I know that there are some people in our county who have only a PO box. Have you heard anything more about that? Because if we don't get every single person, it does negatively impact our funding and our representation. So I hope that is not going to be the case.
I think they're going to count, and I know I'm going to know more. I've been asked to speak at up in Raybrook Wednesday at 2 o'clock to do opening remarks at the public hearing on the census. From the it's actually from the state organization that's involved. So I'll know more after that. But I believe they're going to be counted.
Right. You need to be cognizant that the census delivers a survey to every address, but that includes addresses in communities where the owners are not residents of that community. So when you see the results coming back, especially in the more tourism communities, you'll see exceedingly low numbers, and that really need to be evaluated in that regard, because those people do not respond to that survey that's provided at their seasonal place. They respond to the survey at their primary residence. So what happens is it gets very difficult, but I think our planners are very aware of that after enough decennial censuses. The bigger problem is especially in urban areas, getting that good count in urban areas it can be a challenge. Supervisor Leggett.
I'd like to announce Wolfstock coming up on June 8th and 9th up in town, just behind the town hall. Everybody is welcome to come up for a great 2-day festivity, peace, pause, and music.
Right. And just Supervisor Driscoll.
You're all set?
Nope, go right ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Supervisor Dickinson's kind words about my presentation up in Lake George. Last night I was up in Horicon. I will be doing a presentation in Johnsburg this coming Tuesday, and that will leave 2 municipalities that I hope to get to during the month of June. In addition to being on the beginning of town board meeting agendas and talk about the SNAP and other federal feeding programs, it's also given me an opportunity to stay for the entire meeting. And I think a suggestion of Supervisor Molino a few months back, I would invite and encourage some of my counterparts from Glens Falls and Queensbury to maybe check out some town board meetings if you've got a free night from our up-county friends. It's certainly been educational to me, learn more about their towns. I've found that the issues and concerns and their agendas are pretty much consistent with other towns that I've visited. I've had a chance to introduce myself to town board meetings, and I've already established a relationship with them and received referrals for the SNAP. So it's really been a kind of a doubleheader as far as presenting on the topic that is near and dear to me, but also better learning about individual towns and hopefully improve my ability to make sound decisions on the county level. Thank you.
You're welcome, and we were happy to have you in Bolton as well. It was an excellent presentation, and we're happy to have you there. Any other announcements? Supervisor Sokol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to thank Sarah and Molly for stepping in the absence of Amanda. Nobody even noticed, but I thought they did a great job today. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Thomas.
Yes, on Saturday, June 1st, we're going to have our town historian's going to have an event across or the other side of the creek. Our county historian will be there, and also the state historian. It's in conjunction with our Dean Trail System and the Stony Creek Historical Association's 2 museums will be open, and we'll have vendors, etc. So starts at 11, I believe.
Any other announcements? I just would like to, I see him sitting in the audience, I just want to thank Brian LaFleur for his assistance in toward Bolton in our recent water emergency. Brian, you guys did a tremendous job. You made the lift a lot easier. Thank you. Any other announcements? There being none, a motion to adjourn. Mr. Dickinson on the motion, on the second. Mr. Shroud on the second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis & Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis & Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.